Welcome, everyone. It is the local Toyota dealers KSR postgame show. The Cats finished their season with a disappointing and somewhat embarrassing loss to Iowa State, 82-63 in St. Louis. And the Cats finished the season 22-14. Kentucky, one of those games that will be kind of hard for the fan base to digest. 859-280-2287. We are here. It's me and Ryan and Mario. We are stopped in Mount Vernon, Illinois. We actually took off right as the game ended and heading on our way back. A lot of ways to go about this game. I think what I will do is talk a couple minutes about the game and then kind of overall about the season as a whole. First of all, the game. Kentucky came out really well, led 20-8. I felt like for the first time all year I sat directly courtside, and you get kind of a different view when you sit there. You can see the game in a way that I actually think is a lot more helpful in watching. And I thought Kentucky came out defensively and was great in the first half. Yeah. Intense, got out on the shooters. I was very, very impressed. And offensively, early, they shared the ball. They passed to the offside, which is what Mark Pope had said they wanted to do, kind of make the skip pass across the court. And I thought they looked great. And then all of a sudden, Iowa State changed their defense. And I think this is worth noting. I talked on the pregame show today about how when I talked to Tom Crean and then Seth Greenberg said this on TV, that the way Iowa State was going to play is they were going to double everything when people made drives, try to cut off the basket, and make Kentucky shoot threes. And at the start of the game, that's what they did. And then Kentucky made 6 threes to start the game. And after they did that, timeout was called. And Iowa State switched their defense. After having a game plan that clearly the coaches had said to broadcasters, because many broadcasters said it.
Right.
They came out and completely switched their defense. They made a coaching adjustment.
They did.
And they decided to pressure the ball handler at the point of attack, whoever it was, every time. And then when they did, the pressure just wilted Kentucky. The guards couldn't handle it. The bigs really couldn't handle it. And Kentucky ended up with 20 turnovers, 12 in the first half. Yep. That's an outrageous amount. I mean, Kentucky only won one game all year where they had more than 11 turnovers, and we had 20. And that game plan, Kentucky was just not able to adjust to. And when they switched from kind of daring Kentucky to shoot threes to saying, okay, beat our pressure, Kentucky was not able to do it. And offensively then, every shot seemed like it was a miracle to get one off, much less make it. It was wilting. It was one of the best defensive performances after that adjustment I've seen a team play against Kentucky in a long time. And then, understandably, when the offense suffers, the defense suffered on the other end. Cats were up 1 at halftime. I thought there were 2 key sequences in the game. Number one, and we've said this all year, the substitution patterns. Now, this was not a mass substitution because that's been an issue for a lot of the year. But this was a game where I think only 3 guards could play. Aberdeen, Oweh, and Chandler. And when they tried, and I understand why Pope did this, when he tried to steal minutes for those guys, it just didn't work. Put in Jasper Johnson, he was -9 in 1 minute and 37 seconds. And it was a brutal -9. Moreno really struggled all game. Shot free throws well, but otherwise really struggled. Couldn't get his hands on the ball, which would lead to the second key sequence. Up 7, great defense on a possession. Missed shot. Diabate taps the rebound. Diabate, I thought, was great hitting the glass. Taps the rebound, taps it into Moreno's hands, who loses it, falls down. Momlovic, or whatever his name was, for Iowa State, catches it, shoots an open corner 3, cuts it to 4. It could have been a 7 with the ball with 1 minute 15. Instead, it's 4. We come down, rush a shot, no understanding of time and situation. They get the ball back. We come and rush another shot and give them the final shot, and they hit a 3. And we go from up 7 to down 1. And I thought that was a crucial little swing And then the second half was just embarrassing. I mean, they at one point were down 25. It was embarrassing, second half. So Kentucky loses. So that's the game. Ryan, thoughts on the game?
You nailed it. Came out, great start. And we said in the pregame show that they're going to have to hit shots. They did. We said Colin Chandler's going to come out and hit some shots.
And he did.
He did. Offense looked great. But you nailed it, man. Iowa State made the adjustment. When they put that trapping defensive pressure on us, Kentucky did not handle it at all.
And you saw the weaknesses that the team had. The two biggest weaknesses, in my opinion, maybe three. One, no depth.
No depth.
Now, some of that is having a couple injuries, but a big part of it is they didn't have a backup point guard. So, I mean, you could not take Aberdeen out. And when they did, you saw what happened.
Even with him in there, they pushed our offense out. It was starting nearly at half-court line.
By the way, we lost by 19, and Aberdeen was -5, which means we were -14 without him, and he only set out 4 minutes.
Wow.
So think about that for a minute.
Wow.
I mean, think about how bad it was when he wasn't on the court. It was brutal. So that was number one. Pope addressed that after the game, said, well, we thought something was going to happen in our spring situation, and then it fell through. I guess he's referencing the Caden Lewis not coming here. But when a Caden Lewis didn't come, you got to go do something. There's still plenty of time. There's guys all over the world, right?
Yeah.
And they didn't do it, and you saw the – and let me say, salute to Aberdeen for making that – like, I actually think he was great in the second half of the year. And while I'm on that phase, salute to Owe.
Yes.
One of the best 2-year runs as a player in Kentucky history. He was, wasn't perfect, but this is a guy who probably on an ideal team is Robin to a Batman, and he had to be Batman, and he was a pretty daggone good Batman.
Yes, he was.
Honestly, he was better than I thought he could be this year. And so, salute to him. He had 30, what is it? How many games we played? We played 36 games this year, 36, and I think he had 33 games in double figures, and 34 games in double figures, and I think something like 19 games over 20 points.
Wow.
Pretty amazing season for him. Now, bigger picture, the season as a whole. And ultimately, this is the most important thing. The season as a whole was a huge disappointment. I don't know how you can say that the season was anything but a disappointment. Kentucky came in, the own coach said we were a Ferrari. We had national championship or Final Four expectations. Yes, we had two major injuries. One was at the point guard, but they did make a voluntary choice to not have a backup. Well, Pope said in the postgame, we knew our weakness was we didn't have a backup point guard. Well, probably should have fixed that. That hurt you. Quaintance, that's a loss, but you know what? I don't find that as much of an excuse as everybody else because you knew he had a torn ACL when you brought him.
When you took him.
Right, so you made the conscious decision to do that. That wasn't like he got – like Lowe was a freak accident. But Quaintance, you knew he was coming off a torn ACL, and you decided to do it. So while I do give some sympathy for the Lowe thing – ultimately, you didn't construct this roster correctly. Even when we were at our best, I will remind you, we had 3 games where we had the whole team. We beat St. John's, but we lost by like 25 to Alabama and lost at home to Missouri.
Yes.
People just bring up if we had our whole team. We were 0-2 in the one game where all guys played, right? We had one half where we looked good. The second half against St. John's. For the rest of the time, we weren't good, even with the whole team. It was poor roster construction. It just was. And I will go further. I think what we had was poorly coached. He did not have a team that fit his philosophy, and then in my opinion, Mark was not able to make it adapt. He was not able to take his players, adjust how they play, and make it work. I'll give you an example. Right now, St. John's is playing. Rick has a team of dudes who can't shoot. They can't.
Right.
And yet he's got them on the way to potentially the Sweet 16. We'll see how the game ends. And they won the Big East because he adjusted to what he had.
Play to your strengths.
Right. This team actually ended up shooting okay some of the year, but we were not able to adjust. And it was a very disappointing year. I thought last year was ultimately a kind of successful year. I think this year was a disappointment, which is why I think the third year is going to be what it comes down to for Mark Pope. There was a couple discouraging comments in the post game. I might have to pull this out to read it, but he said he was asked about going forward, and he said we've got to find guys who want to come here because of what Kentucky is. I hate that philosophy. That philosophy may have been true 10 years ago, although I don't think it was, maybe 20 years ago. We need to get the best players and then teach them, to quote Terrence Jones, about Kentucky. Right?
Yeah.
Then teach them about Kentucky.
Right.
Get the best guys here, bring them here, and then make them fall in love with it. Because when you bring guys who this is the peak of what they want, that's nice. It makes our heart feel good, but we lose. Right? Illinois' got a team full of Serbians that probably didn't even know where Illinois was on the map when they came here.
Yeah.
And they're in the Sweet 16. Right?
Right.
So teach them about Kentucky. I'm worried. I'm worried about the building of the offseason. We'll talk more about it later this week, but Eli Capilouto made a video yesterday. The basics of it were, we got to cut expenses. We got to cut expenses. Jack Givens said on the post game, I don't know if they're going to have as much money for NIL next year. That's a little concerning.
Ouch.
Jack would know.
Yes, he would.
That's a little concerning. And then when you hear Mark say, well, we got to start getting people who want to be here for what Kentucky is, that sounds like it's saying we may not be able to get these guys that cost a lot of money. All of those things are things that make it hard for me to feel confidence about next year. Now, we'll see. There's a big portal season. We'll see who comes back. But you have to call a spade a spade. And this was a disappointing year. And it wasn't we didn't reach our goals. We were 22-14. We lost 14 games. The second round, it's not a disaster, but it's also not great. But the bigger issue is that we lost 14 games. We were a 9 seed in the SEC tournament. We played the first game of the SEC tournament, right? We were non-competitive in many games this year.
Many games.
This wasn't like bad luck. We got our ass kicked in a lot of games this year. Now, we do have some good wins. A positive. 2 good wins over Tennessee.
Right.
1 at Arkansas.
Biggest win of the year.
That was a great win, right? Won a game against Vandy at home that was nice. Beat St. John's.
Yes.
But we also lost at home to Georgia. And we lost at home to Missouri, right? We got embarrassed at Texas A&M. We got embarrassed at Vanderbilt.
Yep.
We lost by 40 to Gonzaga in Nashville. We had embarrassment that we should not have at this school. And so people asked me once, how do I grade a team? Regular season, number 1. A D. We were the 9th seed in the SEC. D. SEC tournament. C. Right? They won a couple games,
2 games,
but we only made it to the quarterfinals.
Right. They still didn't make it to the weekend.
And then NCAA tournament. C. But we have a great moment we'll always remember with the Oway shot.
Yeah.
So that's nice. But overall, just a really, really disappointing season that I think sets it up where if we are objective, Mark Pope's future at Kentucky is about next season.
Will be defined next season.
It will be defined by next season. Mm-hmm. There are people, I see them online, who want to make a change now. That's not going to happen. It's also not what I think should happen, but I also don't think this baby should be behind me screaming. I don't get to choose everything. So next year will define what Mark Pope is or isn't at Kentucky.
I agree with you. I think last year's team kind of overachieved. This year's team definitely underachieved. And this team was way too good to lose 14 games.
Way too good.
Way too good.
I don't care what you think about talent. Go look at that team Iowa State put on the floor. Go look at the pedigrees of that team, where they were ranked in high school.
Yeah.
And then forget about Lowe and Quaintance. Look at who we put on the floor this year as well.
Uh-huh.
Look at our pedigrees, our NIL. There's no reason for us to lose by 20 points. We lost by 20 points because they ran a better defense. They ran a better offense. They were better coached. They were better connected. They had a better identity than our guys.
Right.
Period. End of story. If we had lost to Duke in that talent, then I might accept your argument of, not yours, but an argument of, well, our guys were hurt. But we lost to a team of guys that on paper shouldn't be any better than our guys. And the one guy they had that is better was out.
True, he didn't even play.
We can't complain. Their best player got hurt in the last game, and they found a way to make it work.
And beat us by 19. Second worst loss in
Second
UK.
worst loss in the NCAA tournament ever. And it could have been worse.
Felt like it was worse.
So it is disappointing. I know fans are disappointed. I know Mark is disappointed. I'm sure everyone is. But there needs to be a fundamental reset and evaluation of everything involved with how UK athletics and UK basketball has been run the last 6 years.
Yeah.
That starts at the top where we're making a change. It goes down through NIL, GM. It goes down through media relations, fan relations, coaching. Everything, in my opinion, has been off the tracks a little bit. And it is steamrolled to get worse and worse, with everyone, instead of trying to figure out how to make it better, pointing fingers at other people. If we're honest with each other, behind the scenes, they all point fingers at each other, and y'all are shaking your heads because you know it's true.
Yeah.
Or they point fingers at the media or the fans or expectations. No one takes accountability and looks in the mirror and says, when are we going to reset this? Now's the opportunity. Because if you don't reset it right now, in 1 year we're going to be looking for something new.
Yep.
That's just the reality.
They better do it.
And what makes me nervous is I still hear people pointing fingers instead of looking in the mirror and going, what can I do that might be different than what I'm doing?
Uh-huh.
And on a weekend when I see a president come on and go, we're going to have to cut expenses, and now we're going to focus on how we make money as a university, which is what he said.
Yes.
And I see a coach who says, we need to get guys who play for the name on the front of the jersey. And I see that performance on the court. There's a part of me that goes, is someone going to lead here and make a change that this basketball program can get back to the elite status where it needs to be?
That playing for the front of the jersey, that's old school basketball. Like you said, that may have been something you could do 10 years ago, definitely 15 years, 20 years ago. Modern basketball is not that way anymore.
There was a lot of things, especially towards the end about Cal, that I grew sour on. But one thing I always did believe him about was if you get the talent, they'll fall in love with the university, right?
Mm-hmm.
I believe that.
Yes.
Because this place is special. Mark loves this place. He'll get them to fall in love with the university.
Sure he will.
But I don't need somebody who's in love with us immediately. I need guys who can go ball, who fit your system, and who won't lose by 20 to Iowa State. And I need a coach who can take his roster, adjust, motivate, and not have zero answer when a coach makes one change and the team looks completely lost.
Zero offense, it looks like, after that change. Zero.
Iowa State clearly came in with one game plan, and we, to our credit, shot them out of that game plan.
Correct.
But then they changed, and we did not.
We couldn't punch back.
And that's why we're sitting here today with a 20-point loss.